I'm watching every 90s anime in release order starting with the winter season of 1990. If a show released before that, I won't be covering it. If a show has a season 1 that came out before 1990, I won't be watching season 2 or any of the movies or specials that came out in the 90s. I'll watch the entirety of every show minus a few exceptions here and there. I'll cover those when I get there. And this is part 6. First up, releasing September 27th, 1991, Otaku no Video. This is 2 45-minute episodes. This show delves into what makes an otaku, and it's cut into 2 parts. The first part's the anime, where our main character goes from not really caring about otaku and the lifestyle to being consumed by the culture. The other part of the show, it's made up of IRL interviews with actual otaku. They kind of feel like satire, like they talk to these people who are just living in these homes that are filthy, they don't have no jobs, they don't do nothing but watch anime and make Gundam models. Yes, some of these people do exist in the world, but yeah. So the anime part, this is Kubo. He goes to college and he's great at tennis, and he's got a girlfriend and he lives regular social life. He goes out with people and does all kinds of stuff, but he's bored. He doesn't really like doing any of these things. One day he runs into an old friend from high school, Tanaka, and Tanaka's an otaku who has an otaku club. And at first he thinks they're all kind of weird, but slowly he becomes obsessed with the otaku culture, anime, manga, model kits, cosplay, and most importantly, statues. He quits tennis and spends less time with his girlfriend. Then one day he calls her house to see what's up, and a guy picks up the phone. What? Then she gets on the phone and dumps him for being an otaku. Then he goes to Tanaka and gets all fired up. What's so wrong about liking anime and manga? I'm done job hunting. I'm just gonna be an otaku. I'm gonna be the Oda King, the king of otakus. So Kubo and Tanaka decide to be plastic model manufacturers. And Tanaka says they should sell them legally just out of the garage, but Kubo says no. He has a bigger vision. He wants to get all the right permits and do this the right way. And they start a business and they name it Grand Prix. Then they get to work. Months pass and they open their first store and they blow up. Interviews on TV, a second store, huge convention. They get a skyscraper. Their office is a skyscraper. Kubo and Tanaka look out over the city. You did it, Kubo. You are the Oda King. No, not yet, because he has a dream, an amusement park. Otaku Land. It'll be so great that everyone will want to be an otaku, and he'll get back at his ex. The board of directors at the Grand Prix, it's all people from the anime club. Yo, that's nice. That's sweet. Never forget where you came from. Well, he has an idea to make a factory in China to help increase production. But while Kubo is overseas dealing with that, this guy comes in and causes a coup at Grand Prix, turning the company against him. And when he gets back into Japan, they vote him out as CEO. And the guy who does it to him, he's married to Kubo's ex. What? The person he's been trying to get back at. She's defeated him. He's crushed. No, this isn't funny. It's sad. He gets down in the dumps for a while and he gets a new job. Then while he's out walking to work one day, he sees Tanaka waiting in line for a new Grand Prix statue. What? You see, shortly after they fired Kubo, they fired Tanaka. Tanaka was tricked and they used him against Kubo. And now he has nothing. Then Kubo looks at him, puts his arm out and says, "Man, why don't we start again?" What? Really? You forgive me? Of course. We're both otaku. Yo, that's beautiful. So they get back to work, and in the background is a goldfish warning clock. Remember that? We covered that show in an earlier part. So they start from scratch, and they call the new company GX. And this time they're gonna make their own anime, and they throw King from Nadia in there, and they make this character that looks like she's out of Sorcerer Hunter, and it's a hit. Years later, Grand Prix goes under, and GX buys them out. Then they do it. In 1999, they open up Otaku Land, and Kubo finally becomes the Oda King. It's not done. Cut to 2035. Much of Japan and the rest of the world is underwater, including Otaku Land. But the 2 friends, who are both old and gray, take a submarine underwater to check it out. Otaku, I remember when we built this And when they get inside, all of their old friends are in there waiting for them. What? And they take off their helmets and they're young again. Then they activate the ship and they take off into space. Their next destination, the stars. This show was great. The art was really good. The story was touching and hopeful. The ending is neat. I give it. Revenge on an ex can make people do crazy. Wow. Out of 10. Up next, releasing September 27th, 1991, Money Wars. Narawareta Waterfront Keikaku. We got 1 40-minute episodes and it's unsubbed for the youth. This man Lin is part of the Chinese mafia and he wants to buy the construction rights to a new waterfront being built in Tokyo so he can funnel the Chinese mafia in through it and do crimes. And this is Aiba and Kurihara. They work at a stock place. Kurihara gets in cahoots with Lin so Lin can illegally buy some stocks so he can do those dastardly crimes he wants to do. But Kurihara didn't know he was helping a criminal, and this company here ends up getting bought out by Lin, and this is all bad news. Kurihara can't live with what he's done, so he calls Aiba to tell him what he did. Then he takes off his wedding ring and walks into the ocean. Damn. Well, now Lin has the rights to the waterfront, but Aiba isn't going to let him get away with it. He's going to make sure Lin can't take over to avenge Kurihara. And this billboard says "shoe" with the period after it. That's all they got here is "shoe." Aiba's doing some recon and following around the bad guys who know that he's following them. And then when he goes down this alleyway, they beat his ass. Yeah. But Aiba manages to give him the slip, but he gets caught a second later and he gets beat up and captured again and taken to the bad guy who monologues for a bit. And Aiba tells him that he's wrong and he will be stopped. Oh, you'd think I would be stopped? But look at this model of a skyscraper. They let him go and he heads to the office, which is trash. The next day he gets yelled at by the chief, but he's just angry. They aren't gonna take this lying down. And they all start making calls and selling stocks or something. And Aiba goes and meets with some scientists. And there's a montage of stocks being sold or bought. And the group's close to doing it. But there's one more twist. And I don't know what it is because I don't speak this language. And then at this meeting, they're reading out the results and everyone's fired up. And the chief almost has a heart attack over it. So it looks like they lost because Lin is pretty happy about it. And this office gets taken over by Lin. And Aiba begs the scientists for help again. And everyone seems defeated. But something happens. All the scientists resign from their job, which is good. Then Aiba goes to New York and talks to some people in another montage. And afterwards, he marches right into Lin's office and announces that he's won. With the support of his whole crew behind him, he hard points at Lin, who leaves. And this old man gets his company back. Then Aiba throws a suitcase of money out the window while looking serious in the wind. And he calls out Kurihara's name. And it ends. I give it. This dude's mouth looks almost like South Park-esque, right? Like they forgot to animate it and just had to put something in there right quick before they had to send it out. Out of 10. Up next, releasing September 27th, 1991, Ozanari Dungeon. We got 3 26-minute episodes, and this is King Gazelle, ruler over the Tower of the Wind. King Gazelle wants the legendary dragon's head, said to be kept in the Temple of Fire. It's hard to get, so he makes his servant Foron go out and find people capable of this task. Teenagers with attitude. Cut to this bar where these dudes are being all rowdy. Well, the owner of the bar goes to our heroes who are eating. Mocha, the fighter, Buruman, the thief, and Kiriman, the mage, who only communicates using these signs. The 3 of them beat up the roughhousers. Well, Foron goes to the Adventurers Guild to recruit fighters. He wants to hire someone who will fail so Gazelle doesn't get his grubby mitts on the dragon's head. Well, Mocha shows up there looking for work, and when he sees that she's a hothead and kind of dumb, he decides to hire her. He's positive that she's gonna fail. So the 3 of them go to the Temple of Fire riding their flying tricycle thing, and Buruman uses his thief tools to break them in. And inside is a cult that's praying to the dragon's head. They're watching from up on this beam when it breaks and they fall down. And now they gotta cheese it, but they fall into a pit trap. And the cult just leaves them there, man. Yup, people at the bottom of the pit, that's it. They can't get out of there. That's such a simple death. You just can't get high enough. You down there and it's over. Life is so fragile. During the scuffle, Mocha dropped her magic sword and the bad guys took it, and it turns into a being of some sort and is going to help them out. But they get freed by the main priestess. Her name's Shin, and she takes them to her room and they talk. She says that she can't ever leave this place, but she wants to see the outside world. So Kiriman uses his magic to let her see it all. Cities and oceans, horses, and other shit to be outside. Well, the other priests don't like this and they go to capture them again. But they jump out a window and then her sword shows up and it leads them to the dragon's head. But the little lady, Baya, uses her magic to turn Shin into a monster. And Mocha fights it while Buruman and Kiriman fight Baya and get the dragon's head. And then the temple starts to crumble. Mocha breaks this magic symbol that turns Shin back to normal. Then they all get out of there. And on their way to deliver the head to King Gazelle, the head talks to them. And it says that its name is Moru. Moru thanks them for saving him. It says that he will give them a reward, but they had to take him to the Fortress of Water where they gotta get another thing. While they're talking, Moru just throws out the sentence, "The seal of the great soul has been broken." When Mocha's sword hears this, it zips away and must look into this matter at the Magic Academy. Yo, when he said that, I was like, what the fuck is happening? King Gazelle is watching them and sees them not bringing Moru to him, so he sends Gengar after them. Not Gengar, Gengar. He's got this big skyship and he catches up to the crew and he starts blasting at them and it knocks them out the sky and they gotta run on foot. Cut over to the sword sword, who we learn is named Esprit. He meets with Great Sama, this mystical woman being, who tells him that Moru is a destructive force from another dimension and they had it sealed away. Another of its seals is in the water fortress, and if humanity undoes it, they will destroy themselves, and that's on humanity. It ain't my problem, you feel me? She says that to Esprit, who doesn't know how to feel about it. The crew get through this forest, doing Moses, and they arrive at this water fortress. Well, Gengar is there too, and he uses his guitar to fight. The group gets separated and Esprit shows up to help them out. They all end up inside the water fortress with Gengar chasing them on his death tractor, yo. Where'd he get that? They gotta unseal a door, and when they do, a samurai mech comes out and helps them out, beating Gengar. Then it grabs Moru and flies away. Well, Mocha's all fired up about not getting a reward, so they decide to go to Gazelle at the Tower of the Wind. When they go to see him, he's all fired up and goes to arrest them. Mocha would fight back, but her sword is gone, and they just let themselves get caught. Moru shows up at the Tower of the Wind with his head on his body now, and it turns out King Gazelle is being possessed by a sword person that's just like Esprit, whose name is Logos. And Esprit was following Moru and runs into Logos, and Logos' plan is to just mess things up, mess around. So Logos and Esprit fight. Gengar shows up and he's trying to hurt Mocha and her friends, but he ends up freeing them from their cell. He's going a little toot toot. Our heroes are running from him and trying to get to the bottom of things, and they end up in this computer room and Moru shows up. He tells them that the Tower of the Wind is his ship. He came here 3,000 years ago to do something but was stopped. Before he can do anything, Logos shows up inside Gazelle's body and fights him and impales him, then takes his head. He takes the head to this pilot's room and puts it on a chair, and everything gets all shaky. Then Photon shows up and asks for our hero's help stopping Logos. Meanwhile, the tower is going underground. Then it comes back up as a robot dragon that starts shooting blast everywhere. And Esprit asks the Great Soul for power, and it grants it. Our heroes show up to the control room and find Logos and put him in a net. They thought that would work. Dude's got crazy magic. Nets are for animals and regular people. If you're just named Logos, you have a +2 to breaking out of nets. Anyways, he magics out and Esprit shows up to turn the tides of the battle. Mocha fights the Gazelle body while Esprit's up in the air fighting Logos. Shiremon and Budumon go to the control room to grab the dragon's head, and that's it. That's all they had to do. They take it off and they stop the ship, and Logos gives up, leaving Gazelle's body but saying this isn't the last they will see of Logos. Cut to later. Moto took the dragon ship and went off into space, and everyone's together on the side of a hill. Then Mona sits up and looks off into the sky, and the credits roll. The credits for each episode were her looking up into the sky like this, but only during the last episode do we see that it's been the ending of the show this whole time. That's neat to me. I like that. It's a nice little attention to detail. I give it. At one point in the final fight, she does this Looney Tunes walk behind Gazelle Logos, and he's all like, oh, where'd you go? Oh. I don't know, maybe it got me pretty good. Out of 10. Up next, released in September 27th, 1991, Exper Zenon. This is an hour-long experience. This opens up with our hero Zenon. He's playing a cool robot arcade game. I like the controls, man. With them front buttons, I've always wanted to play a game like this, where like the seat moves and you're all pew pew. He beats it and gets the high score. He gets home, and while he's on his computer, some funky stuff happens. An ad for a game shows up called Expers. Beat other Expers in a battle royale and get the glory and rewards. Join today. And there's a princess named Atover. Bet you won't last 5 minutes playing this game. Make sure you close the door. He decides to give it a try, and he hits yes, but nothing happens. And the next day at school, something crashes into their classroom, and all the kids go flying, like hard hit the wall. Then afterwards, they all get up to check it out. Act like those kids wouldn't be crying after they slammed into the wall. Kids complain over everything. It's a strange capsule addressed to Zeno, and he opens it up. Now, what do you think is inside? Is it A, battle armor? 2, the capsule turns into another arcade machine. The arcade game earlier was just a test to find good pilots from this world to pilot robots from another dimension. Or it's a naked girl. The answer is or. A lot of the time in anime, when there's a question, the answer is often a naked girl. She comes out and makes him touch her boobie, and it activates his armor. Then a monster shows up and he's gotta fight it. It's like a big rock monster in the shape of a triangle. At first he's scared, but he's got all kinds of new powers, and the girl teaches him how to channel his powers and shoot a beam. She tells him to aim for the weak point, his throat. Well, he shoots another blast and fells the beast. Turns out its real weakness was just shooting a huge hole through it. Now he's advanced to level 2, and before the news can interview him, they they fly off together. And he's trying to get the hang of flying, and he levels this skyscraper. They're dead. He just killed all those people. It's afternoon. They're at work. And he ends up over the ocean, and he senses a nuke being fired. So he grabs it out of the sky, and he flies it into space so it won't hurt nobody. Now he gets all cocky. Yeah, I got them powers now, yeah. And he goes to this island and has to fight Venom, another expert, who explains the rules of the game to him. There are 100 experts, and they gotta fight and kill each other until there's one left, that person becoming the champion. So all over Earth, other experts are fighting each other in a battle royale. Venom grabs October and he takes her hostage, and he's beating up Zeno, but somehow he keeps repeating time until he gets the drop on Venom. And after he grabs October, he finishes Venom off. Then all of Venom's power get absorbed into Zeno's forehead, but he never wanted to kill Venom, and he gets fired up about being forced into this game. Then his headset tells him to go to New York. At New York, there's this theater, and it's playing Back to the Future and Thunder Kick. Yo, what a double feature. Book me a ticket, please. A lot of the city's messed up, and it's a ghost town. While October is asleep, he thinks about her name, October, at over. Princess at the over. Princess of the end. That's how he gets there. Look, makes enough sense to me. Sure, I've seen dumber shit. They scrounge up some snacks. Oh man, I love Dr. Pepper with my baguette. And argue over what October really is. And she storms off. Oh, she doesn't like this line of questions. And Kane here grabs her and she screams. When Zeno goes to find her, he sees her passed out. And he goes to her and makes sure she's okay. Then she gets up and evil smiles. And Zeno says, oh my gosh, are you okay? I'm so glad you're okay. Bro, look at her face. Cause next she says, ha ha, you fell right into my trap. So Zeno's all, huh, what do you mean? Bro, you dumb. You so stupid, you dummy. She turns into goo, and now he's gotta fight another expert who is just pretending to be October. An expert who uses sticky pink stuff, but he uses his powers to burn super hot, then goes really cold and the goo breaks. He used science, something he learned from middle school. And he beats her up, but won't kill her. He doesn't want to kill anyone. Then he sees Zane and he starts that fight, but Zane is stronger since he's killed more experts and absorbed all their powers. Luckily, Zane gets distracted by another expert and Zeno grabs October and they hide when the pink goo lady shows up. Her name is Shift. She says it's just them left, so they gotta team up to fight Zane, and he just killed that other guy. So they team up for about 10 seconds because Zane kills her immediately, and he captures October again, and they fight it out. And Zeno, he yells out smash attacks like in My Hero. Zeno's getting beat and it all looks hopeless. But luckily, Zane breaks into a monologue. He's from the 30th century, where this is just a game they're playing. They choose the time they want to play it in and show up to Battle Royale. And when the game's over, they delete this entire timeline so it doesn't affect the future. While Zane was saying all this, Zeno noticed that his speed stat was higher than Zane's. So he rushes him with weak but fast attacks. And Zane's caught off guard. He's getting his ass beat. Then Zeno, he cuts right through him and wins. He grabs October and then wakes up in his room? Huh? What happened? Then the computer running the game talks to him. It says that Zeno wasn't supposed to win. This must be a bug in the game. So it's got to reset everything. It's going to delete him and his timeline. But Zeno starts blasting, and it breaks the illusion the computer had him under. And while he was blasting, he hit the part of the computer that controls space-time. And now everything's all messed up. And he finds October and rips her out of this tangle of cords. And she says, since the ship is messed up, they may be stuck outside of time forever. She explains time and how it branches off in all kinds of ways. Then the game master takes control of the ship and it says that it must delete things to ensure no paradoxes happen. Zeno gets all fired up. He says everything he went through happened. You can't just delete it. He gets into the control room and hooks himself up to the computer. Then he thinks he can get them back to his time. But if he does it, October might be deleted. She says it's okay. All those people didn't deserve what happened to them and they don't deserve to be deleted. So they should do it and see what happens. How the f does he know how to do any of this? So they set all that in the motion and get on top of the ship, and he tells her not to let go of his hand. But another ship attacks them while they're up there. He grabs it and then throws it. Then the timer goes off and the time thing that they did starts happening. Explosion! They're getting blasted away from each other. They're trying to hold on to each other's hands. And October says she will wait for him, even if they're born across different times, and they get separated. When Zeno wakes up again, he's looking at October in the face. But she's wearing a school uniform and he's still in his expert suit. When he says her name, she doesn't know what he's talking about. But then he gets up and looks out over the city that seems to be the one that he came from. I mean, that skyscraper in the distance is still destroyed, right? So it's gotta be the same place. Is he gonna get in trouble for that? October doesn't seem to have her memories, but as she's walking away, she says his name. So she does? She was pretending? I don't know, dude. I don't know what's happening in this show. It ends. I give it, why does this girl make these noises? out of 10. Up next, releasing October 3rd, 1991, Reporter Blues. This is 52 20-minute episodes, so I could only find this entire show unsubbed, but it's in Spanish. Interestingly, I don't speak Spanish, but I found some episodes dubbed in English. Just a few of them, so I'll just tell you what what I saw. This show stars Antoinette, but she goes by Tony. She works as a reporter for the newspaper La Voix de Paris, the Voice of Paris. And she's mostly a crime-fighting detective with her trusty sidekick Alan and her cat Filipino. A lot of the times the cases they solve lead to the nefarious Madame Lapine, a rich lady who carries out her villainous plots. An average episode is them showing up to try and get a scoop for the paper and the thing they're looking into turning into something more. But sometimes she don't solve shit, for real. One time they're at a racetrack to check out the new high-tech cars, and the Japanese team is testing out a new design for a turbocharged automobile engine. Well, the mechanic gets attacked, but he's got them skills and he beats the attackers up. So the bad guys light Team Japan's garage on fire and burn it down to the ground. At the racetrack, sabotage. But their car wasn't in the garage, and the driver hurt his leg, so now the mechanic has to drive. And these cars are old, man. They gotta crank them. And Japan wins the race. And afterwards, Tony just writes the story up. And they go out to dinner, and that's it. See, she didn't solve a thing in that mystery. But the opening and ending songs are great.
Tony is a girl who will change the world, always on the run. Adventures are such fun.
One time the newspaper's going into debt, so this evil guy's gonna buy it out and then use it for his nefarious purposes. So Tone goes to the bank and sees the bank manager talking to this woman, but he's got a wife. Scandalous. Tony follows the mistress, drugs her, swaps places with her to go on a date with the bank manager, then breaks the bank manager's glasses so he can't see during the date, dances on him provocatively, and Alan takes pictures, which they use to blackmail him. Then Tone writes a negative story about Lagrange, the evil guy who was gonna buy the paper, and the bank manager decides to extend their loan so they don't get bought out. They use bad guy tactics like drugging and blackmailing to stop the bad guys. I like it. They're gonna do it, you do it too. Look how sturdy this newspaper is, man. It's not even folding at all, yo. My lord. They don't make them how they used to. Yeah, it's just a fun little show. I give it
Tony es la chica.
out of 10. Up next, releasing October 4th, 1991, Genji Tsuushin Agedama. This is unsubbed, so I'll tell you what I think happens. His grandpa's monologuing for a while, and his granddaughter Ray comes up, and she starts complaining, so he gives her a battle suit. Yeah, that's a cool granddad. They are our villains. Well, a meteor crashes on Earth, and it's this little boy, Agedama, and his robot, Wapuro. They are our heroes. Agedama is a space cop, and I don't know why he's on Earth, but he starts going to school. I think he also lives in a haunted house with these two ghosts. He goes to the same school as Ray, and everyone there is afraid of her except for him, and they get off to a bad start. She makes him her enemy, so she goes home that night and complains to her granddad. "Oh, sweetheart, that boy upset you. Well, I have just the thing." He puts an elephant, tiger, and one of his men into a machine, and out comes a monster, an elephant tiger fridge. And that's pretty funny. I've never seen that before. She brings it to school to fight Agedama, who she thinks is just a regular boy, I'll remind you. Well, he ain't. He uses Wapuro and transforms into Agudama-man. And with all the light and love in the universe, he will eliminate evil. He spins around it really fast and he makes it fall, but it shoots out ice to stick him into the ground with its elephant trunk. But he thinks really hard, and it makes a fire card come out of his head and gives him fire powers. Then he defeats it with a fire kick, and it turns back into the parts it's made out of, and they blast off again. And that's pretty much every episode. The ending song is quite nice. So it's a Monster of the Week show. You don't know what that means. When the show airs, each week the main character fights a new monster that's cooked up by the baddies. There's an overarching story that's just kind of sprinkled in, not really though, and mostly they just beat up the monster that the big bad guy sent until the end of the show when they finally beat the big bad. Or a lot of the time, the big bad never gets defeated and the characters just seem to live in this loop eternally. So every episode they come up with a new monster. So since the crew of this show had to do that 52 times, I thought I would respect their creative process and show you every single monster that showed up in this show, while also just telling you some of the funny things I saw along the way. We got a drill mole monster. We got a cyborg cow. Yo, he drink that milk cause he thirsty. A dog with a TV in its tummy that plays paper, rock, scissors. This person-sized rat that's part potato sack, making it very good at sack-related activities. A robot crab that's all and shoots goo in people's faces. Yo, they told this lady to scream for real. This fish that bangs a drum. This little tree that's also a squid in a bowl. This jacked bear with pauldrons and turbines on his shoulders. And the turbines shoot out sand, and the sand turns you red and gets you all fired up and angry. He gets defeated by, they give him a piggyback ride. A cat that's also a pepper shaker who smokes cigarettes. This turtle squirrel with the Polaroid camera that's part of him, and he spits out pictures. This rhino yakuza, an F1 car, a spider ninja, a monster that's the thing you make mochi with, but he's also mochi and he's also kind of a guy. This squid hawk with a rock hand and who's wearing a scouter. Yo, what's he reading? A crying panda wearing a body training suit, and when he drinks steroids, he gets really big in armor. A girl with a fish on her head in a sumo suit. A big jellyfish. A hermit crab that shoots out tiny houses, and then he also puts real little cats on top of the tiny houses, and then the cats send out an energy wave that make people tiny, and it forces them to live in the tiny houses. A motherly mole with an apron, a pile of yellow doo-doo with pinchy hands and sunglasses, a tiger clock that time travels when it slips on banana peels. One of the guys in the show watched Only Yesterday, like the anime I covered from the previous episode, and do a little parody of that scene. Yo, that's fun. A dog with a halo and a workout shirt. A bear that is also a ramen stall. This super villain bat guy with Stay Puffed arms. A puppy bulldozer. A sparkly ninja boy. An eggplant centipede with a sight. Some kind of weird bath bucket with the heart face. This robot with the guy's head in there. Floating panda ball that smokes. This Bell robot, they actually give him an x-ray and an explanation. A bunch of little helicopters. A guy in a crock pot with an umbrella. His evil thing was going up to people and just fucking their makeup up. A businessman who wears his coat too high. This creepy blue karate man. A fox ghost that's coming out of a ramen bowl. This bird with sunglasses that's part log and also has purple lady hair and duck feet and a jetpack. And when they beat it, it explodes into money. A tangerine that's also a star, and he has metal star limbs, like a drawn star, not a space star. A body with eyes at the shoulders, and its head is a cannon. Starfish Hitler. A fish girl with wax paper on her tummy, and she puts the wax paper on you and then rips it off just to hurt you. A vampire magician. This Russian doll looking robot thing. A big snake with apples. I think it's a Garden of Eden thing, because Adam and Eve show up, and when they eat the apple, whenever you eat the apples, you get naked. A clam-headed kung fu man. And we also learned in this episode Adam and Eve are the real bad guys from space. In the next episode, they summon a crazy blue lion monster. After that, they gotta fight the machine that makes the monsters itself. And at the very end, they gotta fight the Adam and Eve alien people. And it's getting all crazy. The two of them fuse into this bull snake demon, kind of like Purunga, but blue and more snaky than dragon. And Agedama gets ate by it. And he's getting crunched on. Crunch, crunch. In order to defeat it, everyone sings, and the power of their singing spirit bombs into Agedama. And through the power of love and friendship, he defeats the evil blue Purunga. And the twins are arrested, and Agedama has to go with them into space. But he promises to come back one day. And that's where it ends. I give it. His identity is a secret? Yo, I didn't know it was a secret. He just transforms in front of everybody, and his name is the name of the hero, Agedama man. He's wearing more of an accessory than a disguise. Out of 10. Up next, releasing October 10th, 1991, Moreo Top Striker. We got 49 episodes, and this is a game on the Famicom. It's also unsubbed, so this will just be approximations. This is Hikaru. His parents blew up in a plane explosion, and now he's gonna move in with his aunt. And he loves soccer, or football, depending on where you're from. And this guy used to be a talent scout, and he thinks that Moreo has the skills to take it all the way to be a good player. But his aunt doesn't want him to play. But this doctor, who used to be a very famous player, vouches for him. He says that Hikaru has them skills and that he will train the boy. But his aunt still says no. But this vegetable seller loses control of his cart and is rolling downhill, and it's just gonna crush this little boy. So Hikaru kicks the ball and he makes it do a crazy angle, and it breaks the cart's wheel and saves the day. Everyone in town starts throwing confetti when they see this. Oh, they just have confetti lying around for these occasions. And his aunt is convinced to let him play. Yo, it makes a good sound when he hits the ball. So he starts practicing. He's got to catch a chicken and run on an unfinished pier. And they get a team, and none of them are any good, but they practice. And they got to play this other team that's all like a foot taller than him, and he manages to score on them. And the game ends, and they have respect for each other now. And Hikaru sees a ballerina, and he gets smitten, and he gets himself this little blonde rival, Julian. Then they get some big boy matches in this stadium, and they're part of a tournament. They win a few matches, and then they go up against Gloria. Our guys are Columbus. And there's a bit of tension on the team because some of our kids aren't getting along. and the enemy ace and Hikaru keep getting into intense face-offs. One kid on the Columbus team won't pass the ball, so they keep getting scored on. That and the goalie gets scared. And during halftime, they argue, but they get back out there and they pull it together. And the little homie passes, and they score a goal. Now their morale is high, and they keep playing as a team and score another goal. Look at this slick slide move, man, where he gets the ball. The main bad guy kicks the ball into Hikaru's tummy. Ooh, it hurts him. He also tries it on the goalie, but our guy's tum is strong. And it looks like Columbus can make a comeback, but the enemy team is rallying as well. They too have the spirit of never give up. With the game tied at 3, Hikaru tries his falcon kick that he's been practicing, but misses. But then he gets the ball again. And now the entire enemy team is waiting at the goal. And Hikaru tries the bird kick again. And this time it scores! And they do it again. Pretty much the exact same thing. And Columbus wins the game. That was the semifinals. On to the finals. Their next opponent is watching footage, but they're watching it like it's the footage we saw. There was no cameras there, especially not in 1991. But that night, Hikaru kisses the girl he likes. Oh! Now it's the final match in the tournament. Sam Podesta Jr. versus Columbus. It looks like they barely fit Sam Podesta Jr. on there. It's all scrunched up. They get scored on twice early, but they get one back. Then another with his signature bird kick. So Sam Podesta Jr. has to send out their 2 best players, and his girlfriend passes her ballerina exam. They're losing, so Hikaru's got to break out all the stops. He tries a wild kick that misses, and they got a thing where they throw one kid up in the air. They're losing 4-2. And then the enemy ace, Julian, he scores, and he pops off right in Hikaru's face. I am number 1. During halftime, his girl gives him some words of encouragement, and during the huddle, they get fired up, ready to get back out there. Now with renewed energy, the team is out there and they try harder, and they manage to stop the dude from scoring. Maybe they can do this. Then Hikaru manages to get past the opposing quadruple team, then past the other team's ace, and then hits that bird kick, scoring a goal, then another. And they're having fun. They're using the power of love and friendship, goofing around. But the other team, nah, they're mad. And the enemy scores, and the 2 aces have a one-on-one. And Hikaru shakes him off, and then he scores. And Hikaru wins another one-on-one. And he's about to hit that bird kick, but 2 of the opposing teams slide in to kick the ball, so he can't do that. I feel like one person would have worked, but okay, you got it. They ain't have to double kick it. They get the ball back to Julian, who scores and wins the game. And everyone cheers. And even though they lost, they're real happy. But Julian ain't. Yo, then they celebrate how far Hikaru got in that tournament with some mimosas out on the veranda. He hangs out with his girl. Now Hikaru has to leave his team behind and play with a team of kids like him who were the aces of their little local team. Some of the kids from his team got to make it though, and they travel to go play with some people. Now he's in the tournament with the new team, and much like before, they lose until halftime when they realize they gotta work as a team and pull it together. That happens every time. One of the kids has to leave the team because his parents are poor or some shit, and he leaves and everyone's all sad. It ain't like your kids just playing some football. Little homie's on TV in front of a stadium. Let him crash at his friend's house or something. I don't know. He cries and remembers all the times he made along the way. After a long fought finals match with all the kids' crazy kicks and special maneuvers and inside thoughts and arguments and coming together as a team, they win the final game and win the tournament. Only 18 episodes left. He goes to some rich guy's house and plays football with some other kids. Now they got a new team. Got some new faces and some old. The kid who had to leave last time is back. Yo, that's awesome. One of the new kids is really flashy, and they got a beat for goalie from last time. They go to France for another tournament, and one of their kids goes to kick the ball, and this other kid drop kicks his kick, which is pretty cool. And of course, they're losing till halftime, till they pull it together. The game gets tied, they win the game. Then the show suddenly gets a bigger budget for about 40 seconds, and Julian passes the ball to Hikaru, who scores a goal. They do this crazy long pass. They win the game and get a trophy. That was a short little tournament. His girlfriend comes into town, and they have a bunch of fun in the city. They're going into a new tournament, and the opening ceremony for the next tournament happens, and it seems like a bunch of the teams are from around the world. They in the big leagues now. This is the home stretch. 8 teams, 8 nations. Only one can win, and they're up against Falcon Jr. first. Takes an early lead, like every team does against them. Well, after losing and being outmatched for a while, they pull it together after halftime and win the game. These guys all do handstands to have their legs up as a wall to stop the ball at one point. They win. The next match is against Pegasus FC, and the goalie uses martial arts to block the ball. Yo, I just report what I see. I know it's silly, but it's cool. Then during halftime, each team captain gives a good speech, and it's head-to-head, neck and neck. Time's running out. The game is close, and they're evenly matched. And Pegasus tries to send it into overtime, but Hikaru blocks the shot before they can, and his team wins. Now they gotta go up against Mario's team in the finals. Mario's a kid they met earlier, they were cool. And before the final match, Hikaru has a little hug with his girlfriend, then he hits the field. On the other team during the finals is a bunch of their old homies. They got great defense, and they're losing. Well, halftime hits, and that's all our guys ever need. And they're all smiles, all team and friendship and love. They come out reinvigorated. The goalie starts blocking shots. After lots of trying, they manage to score a goal. Then one of them headbutts a ball, and he's met by two other headbutters, but his team back him up, and they all push forward, and they get another goal. And a lot more football gets played, and the enemy team and his homies double kick the ball, and it gets through. One of the enemy kids gets injured and carted off the field. It's an intense game. Then Caesar here uses his signature kick to pass it to Julius, and then Julius uses his signature kick to pass it to Hikaru, and then he uses his kick to shoot at the goal, but it's blocked. But Julius heads it in. It's a tie game, and time's running out. Neither team can outpace the other, and they're evenly matched. They go for a double kick, but it's blocked. And they go for another, but the goalie blocks it again. But one of their kids has an open shot, but one of the kids blocks it with his head, but his head gets bounced off up against the goal. Boom, like that. Yo, it's one of the first kids they play with. That looks painful. He made it all the way here with Hikaru. He has a concussion. Hikaru takes it up the field, almost loses it, but passes it to Julius, who passes it to Caesar, who passes it back to Hikaru. And then he dodges two kids and gets the kickoff. But these two kids kick it out, but Hikaru jumps into the air to hit it against 6 defenders and the goalie, and he heads it in. Time runs out, and they win the game. Everyone is tired and bruised, but they come together, shake hands, and celebrate. They win the world championship. They go back home winners. And what does the future hold for them? I don't care. That's where it ends. I give it. They were watching this TV show one time. The fuck is going on here? There's like a god out of 10. Next, released in October 21st, 1991, Ore no Sora Keiji Hen. This is 44 minutes long and unsubbed. Ken here is the son of Ren, who is the head of the Yasuda group, one of those businesses in anime that owns everything. But he's a decent guy that everybody likes. We open up at a fancy party, and there's this fancy lady, Masaki, who's all the buzz. But then the title screen shows up on her face, and it's all ominous. Later, a girl is found dead in a river, and Ren is hanging out with Masaki. They kiss. Ooh. Ken, even though he's supposed to take over the Yasuda group, he decides to become a cop so he can bring justice to the world. Ken and his partner interview this guy about the dead girl in the river, and when he tries to bribe them, Ken throws the money in the fire. Then he makes a phone call and the guy freaks out. I think maybe he was using his connections to ruin some of that guy's businesses, I'm not sure, but they arrest him. Maybe. That night, him and his partner go out drinking and they pass this store called Book, yo, we got Book. That's 3 signs now that have said Book in this series, in my little 90s series. While they're eating, this guy's harassing a woman and this other guy starts to beat him up. Ken goes to stop that guy from beating him up, but his partner holds him back. See, that guy is a cop and you don't mess with him, and he wears polka dot shirts. The next day, the guy who got beat up goes to the cops with some info. Then polka dot shows up and tells everybody what's going on at the precinct. There's a crazy up sex ring where a guy rapes a woman in front of a bunch of rich dudes, then they kill the girl. So they put together a task force to bring down the group in charge. While Polka Dots is up there telling everybody what they're gonna do, Ken doesn't get a job during that meeting because they put him on a different task with a new partner, this woman, who he just goes up and kisses and she slaps him, but then they have a real serious moment about it. The cops pretend to be construction workers and they set up surveillance on the Yakuza, and Ken and the woman are undercovering as a couple who go into the hotel where the rapes are happening, and it's happening to a girl right then. And when they get inside, Ken hears her scream. They pull the fire alarm and all the cops bust in to save the girl and start arresting fools. But one of the people watching, they just let go for some reason. I guess he's just some kind of high up person. Well, later they have a secret meeting where they explain things to Ken. But Polka Dots gets fired up and he throws a bottle. Then Ken calls Masaki and she cries on the phone, but they spend the night together, and Masaki meets with this old guy for some reason. And then they go to this pond and test the water, and a bunch of construction starts in these woods, and one of the Yakuza gets arrested because of what they just did. A job well done by Ken. Not sure what was happening around the end there, but hey, he did it. He rides off with Masaki during the credits. I give it. When Polka Dots was beating that guy up, when he hits him and knocks him into a brick wall and shatters it, him skidding the distance of the wall takes out all the bricks. So he's dead, right? Nah, he seems pretty unbothered by it. My man should be dead. You don't just get thrown in the bricks. He took that. They were part of the wall. If you can't throw someone into the... Out of 10. Up Next, released on October 21st, 1991, Tomoe ga Yuku. This is 2 40-minute episodes, and this is Tomoe. She loves to roller skate, yeah! But her friend was recently killed in a tragic and common roller skating accident. She becomes broken inside and gives up the skates. She ends up living at Green Ship, a place that trains stunt people. She's been living there for 3 months and becomes romantically involved with Kazusa, one of the head trainers. Super nice guy, and he's very gentle with her. He's always telling her to get out more and trying to, get her past her trauma. Well, one day she's approached by this woman who works there, Kyukyoku. Do you think this place is really just a stuntman training facility? This place is sketchy, Tomoe. You can't run from your problems, Tomoe. Well, after that, Tomoe gets curious and she starts to snoop around. She finds a file in Kazusa's stuff with a dossier on this man, Iori. Then Kyukyoku finds her and tells her the truth, that Green Ship takes in wayward youth and trains them as stuntmen, then takes the exceptional ones and makes them assassins. And she's a cop trying to bring this whole thing down. She tells Tomoe to get out of here and go warn Iori about the hit that's on his life. Shortly after that, Kyukyoku is caught and killed. All confused and gummed up inside, Tomoe grabs her skates, bites on them strings, puts them on, and goes out into the snow. She beats up a bunch of guards and makes a run for it. She makes it to the highway and does a flip over a car, then gets directions from a motorcycle man who offers her a ride, and she says nah, and then heads in that way. She's on roller skates, which typically go around 5 to 15 miles an hour. A skilled skater can go around 30 miles an hour. Let's say she's skilled. I mean, just get on a motorcycle. I guess maybe you can't trust this guy, but still. Tomoe makes it to the temple Iori lives at and warns him about the hit. Kazusa shows up right after this, and Iori fires a warning arrow at him. We learn that Iori is the illegitimate heir to the Tojo group, one of those corporations in animes that just controls everything. Before the two of them get into a fight, Tomoe jumps in the way. She says this isn't right. She doesn't want to see any more death. Kazusa says that she's like him. She's meant to be an assassin. She says, no, I choose my own fate. Before anything else can happen, the cops show up and the bad guys book it. Then Iori says some poetry and they hold hands for a second. Iori meets with his sickly father who really loves him. And his stepmom is the one who wants him dead because she wants her kids to take over the company, not Iori. Tomoe and Iori's dog, Kazemaru, sneak in on the bad guys and overhear that they're going to kill Iori during an upcoming banquet that his father's holding. Time passes and Tomoe's spending time with Iori, and they start getting all shaky, glowy eyes at each other, and Tomoe gets a message to meet someone at a club called Valhalla, and she meets up with the motorcycle man from earlier, Yoshinaka. He shows her where Valhalla is. There, she gets a message from Kazusa. He tells her to bring Iori to a baseball game the day of the banquet, or they're gonna kill Kuro, one of her friends from Green Ship. So she gets Yoshinaka to dress up like Iori and takes him instead. And during the game, a bomb goes off. Then Tomoe sees Kazusa at some box seats and runs up to confront him wearing roller skates. She's skating around the dome. Look at her, that's a wild move. She could skate the Skate Sky Road. Yoshinaka follows her and has a fight with Kazusa. During it, Tomoe gets thrown out the window. And it turns out Yoshinaka is Iori. He's the same person, he just wears a wig. Kazusa beats him up and leaves him to die because the dome around them is exploding. And he's laying there about to be crushed. But he has a dream of his mama. And in the dream, he almost dies to a demon. But a vision of Tomoe saves him. And then Iori and Tomoe get out of there. And afterwards, he makes it to the banquet. And he makes a dramatic entrance where he's part of the play. And his father's delighted to see him. Later, Tomoe goes to see her sister. Her sister, who just stopped the plane from being hijacked. I'm just telling you what they told me. She stops by to tell her sister that she's gonna go attack the enemy and free Kuro. And that she might not make it back alive. Then she skates to a song for a couple minutes where everybody else is moving all slow-mo or not moving at all. She's just kind of moving, just skating through it, yeah. And she meets up with Kuro's gang to go get him back. And Kazemaru follows as well. Cut to Iori. His father's dying and he's named the next leader of the Tojo group. Tomoe and the gang get to Green Ship where Kuro's being kept. She goes ahead without them and then beats her way in through the front gate. Sneaking. The soldiers all scramble looking for her. And Kazemaru fights off some dogs while she runs further in. I kept thinking that I would be so upset if that dog died. She gets to one of the leaders of Green Ship and tells him it's done. She's taking Green Ship down. Then this woman shoots at her and starts chasing her. And that woman is also gonna blow up the whole facility. But Kazusa says that he can't leave until Iori and Tomoe are gone, are dead. There's lots of chase and explosions that goes on for a little bit. Until eventually, Iori comes in on a hang glider. The main bomb is gonna go off soon. Then it cuts to Iori's stepmom looking at a list of songs for some reason. Iori saves Tomoe from a fire. This woman who was shooting earlier, she really works for the Tojo group group and she stops Iori from getting shot by Kazusa and ends up dying. And Iori's mom gets caught looking at those songs. She's in trouble. And then Kudo's gang finally decides to move in after everything's already on fire and pretty much done, and they get Kudo. But there's one last thing that needs to happen. The final face-off with Kazusa. Iori drives past the fire on his motorcycle, and Tomoe skates under it. Skates under the fire. Iori and Kazusa are fighting with swords in this bar, and it looks like Iori is about to die, but Tomoe gets in there just in time and shoots Kazusa, killing her old lover to save her new one. It's all very dramatic. They get out of there and they kiss, and then Iori gets flown out by a helicopter, but Tomoe and the rest of the gang just have to ride on out. Now she's in front of the whole gang, skating up hill. Yo, she's got to be going like 1 mile an hour. I would be behind her so annoyed, just complaining the whole time to the people around me. Damn, man, I know she did most of the work, but I wish she would just get in the car. Like, am I right? Am I crazy to say that? I mean, I don't like complaining, but come on. That's where it ends. At the end, there's a preview for the show coming out on Laserdisc and VHS on October 21st. Pre-order to get the bonus calendar. There's a bonus calendar. I give it. Yo, sometimes I zone out while I'm watching these shows. I mean, come on, please forgive me. I watched so many and I was spaced out for a moment, and this girl clenched her fist and then this wall exploded and I was like, whoa, people have powers in this show? Nah, it was just a coincidence, but I just thought I would share that with you. Out of 10. Up next, released on October 24th, 1991, Kyukyoku Chojin R. This is an hour-long movie. A thunderstorm, books everywhere, a girl on a computer pointing at a map. This is Sayonji. She's on the student council of her school and she hates the photography club. They're a disruptive group and she wants them disbanded. So she comes up with a little trick that she knows they can't pass up. She has a rich family and she creates this challenge. It's a train tour. You go to each stop on the train route and get a stamp. Not a mailing stamp, but a pressing stamp. It takes 2 days to do the whole train route, and if you don't get every stamp by 6 p.m. on the last day, you have to pay the entire fee for the train tickets yourself. So if the photo club fails to get there in time, they would have to use their club's budget to pay for the trip. And if they do that, their club will get disbanded. That's what Sayonji wants. So the movie is about the photo club traveling from stop to stop, getting stamps and just having a good time. So the photography club starts their journey. They're a bunch of goofed up goofers just messing around, causing a ruckus on having fun on the train. The club leader is Tosaka, who throws up the middle finger a lot. When he's happy, when he's mad, he's just always flipping stuff off. This is Amano, and she's dressed like a referee. But the main person here is R. R is an android that was created to take over the world, but he's really just a goofy dude who can do a lot of crazy stuff. Sayonji's on the train too, and she's watching and hoping they fail. And she's with this guy, and when she starts to monologue, he looks around like, whoa, everything's turning black. Like he can feel the scenery change around him. That's pretty funny to me. It ain't happening. So they get to their first stop and get their first stamp. Then they just get on a train to the next stop and get another stamp. Not much time for sightseeing, but they get into their own wacky fun on the train. Lots of arguing with each other and bantering. Tosaka says they have enough time to stop by the beach and chill for an hour, so they do that. And everybody's playing. And Tosaka's just standing picturesque flipping off the sky. While at the beach, this man Narihara is filming them with this ridiculous sized camera. And by their reaction to him, it seems like they deal with him a lot. I forgot to mention that this has a manga and that this takes place, I think, 9 volumes in, or maybe 9 chapters in, something like that. Well, Tanaka brings out his camera and just disintegrates this booth on accident. So Narihara transforms his camera into a mech and pulls this cord. And when he does, this little thing just comes out and picks up a little bit of sand, and then the camera explodes. Sayonji is at the beach watching them, and the guy she's with, he's in the background getting girls' numbers, yo, damn, on the side, playboy. After that, they get on a bus to the next stop, having more fun. They just act like that shit didn't happen. Tanaka's camera got a banana clip on it. They get off the bus and start hiking to the next spot because Tosaka says he knows a detour, and it takes them a while. They walk until the sun goes down, and everybody's all tuckered out, so they all take a nap on the side of the road. Then a truck full of guys passes by and picks them up. These guys were out here training in the mountains. And I want to train in the mountains. This one's all starry-eyed. Look at them. They get to the next bus stop, then crash outside on some benches until morning. One of the kids brought pajamas. The group borrows a cup of power to turn on their rice cookers and make some rice. They get on a train that morning and speed run a bunch of the stamps. Yo, look at all these levers. That's how you start a train, huh? That's neat. How neat is that? On the train, he draws a spiral on the ground and it makes him freak out for a little bit. He had to stop looking at it. If he had stared a little longer, this would have been a Junji Ito. While they're on the train, train to the next spot, Narihara shows up again in a hot air balloon. He's got some kind of ray gun, but they get into a tunnel and his balloon pops. After the hot air balloon goes away, Narihara, he threw a tape recorder into the train that blows up and R disappears. But he had the stamp book on him. They have no choice but to take a train going back the other way. And they see him on the side of the road throwing his limbs around. So they pull the emergency brake on the train and then get kicked off the train. You can't do that. They get on the next train, they pick him up and the stamp book, and they go back on the journey. So only 2 or 3 of them will run out to go get the stamp while the rest of them stay on the train. And when they get to one spot, the place that stamps them is closed. So they gotta wait for them to open the window and end up getting left behind. The train leaves without them. So they start to walk on the train tracks, and somehow the train ends up behind them and they end up on it. I'm not sure what happened here. 3 of them get chosen to take a picture of the group getting away on a train. Then they have to run all the way to the next spot just to get that shot, man. They do it. They make it in time. Then everybody takes a nap on the train. Man, I love a good nap. Never been on a train though. They get to a stop and realize it was the last train. Nothing else is gonna be coming this way. It's all over. Now they just gotta wait to go home. But it's not over. Tosaka and R mod out a bicycle. And by modding out, I mean tying wooden planks to it. And before they all get on it, one of them says, "I hope nobody gets hurt." And another one replies, "Don't you mean you hope nobody dies?" Because we're 100% getting hurt. I mean, look at that thing. It's barely together. Everyone gets on and R starts to drive them, with Otojima here sitting in the front. And damn, that looks fun, right? They only have an hour left to get to the last stop. And there's kids in the back reading maps to R as he's driving. Yo, old school. They ride past the Danny's. Tanaka starts going super cat fast, but he loses a lot of speed going uphill, and the cops try to pull him over, but then they speed up and get away. They sure look fun, but once they hit the highway, I wouldn't want to be Otojima, yo, in the front. At this point, they know they're cutting it super close, so Tosaka tells R to get reckless. Then they hit a hill, and some of the wood breaks, and they lose 2 of the kids. Then they go off-road into a forest and lose 5 more, and Otojima's in the front cry laughing. Yo, girls lost it. With only a few seconds left, they crash their bike right through the glass doors of the train station and get the last stamp with 1 second left. And Saionji's there, and they show it to her laughing. Then they go back and pick up the rest of the kids. Woo, hooray! But Narihara shows up and Amano mouths off, so he pulls her cheeks. Yeah, that's kind of funny. Then they have a little battle as we zoom out to look at the moon, and the credits roll. And during the credits, it shows some of the photos they took. Yo, this was a fun movie, entertaining, and just friendship, just a fun journey. I give it an assemble insert, one of the first shows covered in my little series here. They're watching this anime. They're watching Kyukyoku chojin, and R talks to one of the characters in assemble insert. Isn't that neat? And I don't think I mentioned it when I was talking about assemble insert because it just wasn't important. But I'm watching this like, hey, wait a minute. This R guy's made me laugh before. Why? It was because of this scene in assemble insert. That's kind of funny. Out of 10. Now let me hit you with some stats. In those 10 shows, we had 1 sports one about assassins, about 60 different monsters, 1 battle royale, 2 with mobsters, 4 were unsubbed, 1 more book billboard, and another hot air balloon. Yeah, so that's it. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. Love you. See you later.